Thank you very much, everyone, and good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending with where you are. My name is Victor Otieno. I'm the County Chief Officer at Nairobi County under Digital Economy and Startups, which is almost like an assistant minister, depending with whichever country you're coming from. So maybe just to give us a bit of context, of course, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, and just focusing on Kenya generally in terms of the innovation ecosystem. Looking at Kenya, and this is the reason why the reason why the governor of Nairobi set up this particular subsector, which is called digital economy and startups. So, of course, as the name suggests, my focus is looking at digital economy and startups generally, and ways in which you can be able to support. We are looking at, in terms of indices, we see Kenya, do very well based on different global indices, whether it's the Global Innovation Index, whether it's the Global Startup Ecosystem Index, looking at venture capital funding, coming into Africa, Kenya, standing around average 17% of all VC funding that is coming into Africa. Of course, the leaning of this funding still is heavily towards fintech, which does not in any way indicate that fintech is the only technology that is there in Africa, but it's just because the infrastructure in terms of socioeconomic structure of Africa is that because banks or financial institutions have delayed for a long time in bringing financial access to small businesses, that has become a niche where a lot of startups have ventured into, and of course VC money follows where it can be able to get a good return on investment as well as good payback period. So of course we see Kenya specifically playing a major role in that in terms of being able to attract that kind of funding. So that's number one. We see also on the other hand, global multinationals setting up shop in Kenya just to be able to take advantage of whether it's talent or regulatory environment or policy environment. So we have Amazon, we have Facebook, we have Google, MasterCard, Microsoft, Visa, etc., and all these big tech setting up shop in Kenya, again, which is an indication of the maturing or maturity of the ecosystem. We, of course, have M-Pesa as a major innovation that, continues to fly the Kenyan flag. But our theory of change is there are so many M-Pesas based on different technologies that are there, and we would want to be able to support them for them to be able to scale and grow. So ultimately, my job description after we talk about AI, blockchain, or whatever type of technology is, we are looking to be able to support job creation. So, so that for me is a big KPI. Currently in Kenya, we have close to 1 million young graduates who are entering into the labor market who cannot be able to secure jobs. So currently we have small businesses taking up or employing close to 80% of new jobs being created is actually being created within the micro, small, medium enterprises, where majority of them are informal. So we need to be able to look for other sectors that can be able to support job creation and just be able to give economic opportunities to either Kenyans or even Africans. So we believe that innovation generally is a space that, if well supported, can be able to support startups and innovators to be able to grow. So we came up with a strategic plan for the next 5 years, which runs from 2023 to 2027. And of course, this strategic plan is based on the feedback that we received from the startup ecosystem in Kenya, as well as literature review that we found, of course, especially in Africa, and specifically a strategy paper called the Science and Technology Innovation Strategy for Africa under AU. So this is, even if you're talking about AI and research, that becomes a first port of call, for lack of a better words, in terms of guidance for all member states to be able to adopt or to support their respective digital economies. So under the STA strategy, there are different components that have been advised for member states to develop in order to have a vibrant digital economy. Number one is looking at infrastructure. So it's very important that African countries are able to develop the different components of infrastructure within the countries. And of course, infrastructure comes in form of roads, electricity, internet, incubation spaces, or centers of excellence, whichever way you call them, so that we're able and not only just build the infrastructure, but enable, decentralize those infrastructure to allow more young people to be able to engage. It's one thing to have an infrastructure in terms of electricity, but it's focused on urban areas. If you don't bring internet to rural areas or to areas where, otherwise young people are not able to access, then even if you're talking about AI, then probably they're not able to play within that space. So it's very important that we're able to decentralize resources. And Nairobi County, of course, is doing exactly that in terms of being able to partner with private co-working spaces, incubation hubs, academia, just to ensure that we're able to democratize this type. Number two, under the strategy, we are looking at talent. Again, we can talk about AI, but if we don't consistently build a pipeline of talent focused on AI, blockchain, or whichever technology, then it's a pipe dream. We will continue to consume technology rather than to produce it. We can talk about ChatGPT, but the question is, where is that developed? Who gets the maximum value from the ChatGPT outside of me writing a speech using ChatGPT? Maybe probably you can just scroll. I think I can be able to scroll it. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So exactly that. So I was talking about the STA strategy. So the strategy basically has informed how the county government has structured its priority areas. So as I mentioned, we're looking at infrastructure, we're looking at policy environment around AI or whichever other type of technology, looking at what they're calling entrepreneurship, which basically means collaboration. So yes, you can talk about technology, but AI, but even if we were to build infrastructure and train talent, if there is no optimal collaboration between government, academia, private sector, venture capital, etc., again, we might not be able to achieve much. So we have adopted a two-pronged approach. Number one is looking at the literature review and just looking at, of course, global best practice, as well as this particular strategy under AU, as well as feedback from the ecosystem. We were able to come up with a simple, this is of course a very simplistic way at looking at how we are supporting AI and basically innovation in Kenya, looking at ease of doing business. Again, policy environment, how do we catalyze and create a policy environment that allows AI and all the different components around AI, blockchain, and all these different types of technology to thrive. So I'm sure you all have the use case or case study of WorldCoin. Again, there is again a lot of debate around WorldCoin. So how do you support? The question is for me is how do you support these types of technology without just brushing them off completely? Of course, they have their own challenges here and there, but I think as a government, our role is to be able to see and have conversations with the ecosystem and co-create policy around different types of technology. And AI, of course, being a very hot topic, around issues around ethics, etc. We need to be very careful and just ensure that we're able to create a policy environment that is able to mitigate the risks that come with AI, but also be able to, at the same time, create a policy environment that allows this type or use cases around AI to be applied in different facets of the economy. So one of the areas that we're looking out for as a county government is looking at the policy environment. And of course, this policy environment is underpinned on research. Say, for example, currently we have, I'm supporting the Blockchain Association of Kenya in terms of, developing a blockchain policy of sorts and the regulation that would follow. So that would mean that we need to be able to rely on research and the different use cases across the globe to ensure that we are able to get a policy that is not copy and paste, but that is able to work for us as Kenya. So of course there is a role in which research plays in terms of being able to create such policies, such regulation. Looking at establishing Nairobi as African startup market launchpad, again, we want to be at the forefront in terms of supporting different facets of technology to be launched from Kenya. So Kenya is a very good launchpad already in terms of Kenyans being very receptive to different types of technology. And that's why we see multinationals setting up, and of course they can be able to do the MVPs from Kenya, which then of course they can be able to apply the real products globally. We want to be able to expose our startups to global startup or innovation forums. Again, you are as good as how much you're exposed. So the more you're able to explore different jurisdictions, different environment in terms of how they have been able to apply AI in solving different challenges, or use blockchain or whatever type of technology, again, exposing startups and programmers and devs, etc., is a key area for us. We want to be able to increase our interaction with the ecosystem and the different facets of the ecosystem. Of course, you see me coming to this particular session in terms of AI, Africa AI Summit, is just to be able to have ears on the ground and get feedback, which of course we can be able to use as a government to ensure that our policy and our programs respond to the ecosystem. And we've strived a lot to ensure that we increase our interaction with different ecosystem players, whether it's incubators, whether it's VCs, financiers, whether it's startups, and different players within the ecosystem, to ensure that our programs basically resonate with the ecosystem. Funding is a major issue, as I indicated in my opening remarks. There is a skewness towards funding towards fintech. So the question is, how do we ensure that startups who are in AI, startups who have an underpinning of blockchain, or startups in different sectors, in agriculture, in education, get funding. So we need to be able to have some affirmative programs that ensure that we direct funding towards other sectors or other types of technology. And of course, lastly, is ensuring that we are able to decentralize infrastructure, which are basically incubation hubs, together with internet and all the other services that come through such a space, to ensure that we are able to spread and ensure that there is equity and democracy in terms of our young people being able to access these facilities. So it should not be because you are rich or because of whatever advantage that you have. Each and every young person in Nairobi specifically should be able to get an opportunity to enter into a space where they can be able to develop a product, develop a service based on whatever tool that is there. So this is basically a concept around incubation center. And the reason why we are sharing this is because this is the only way in which we can be able to catalyze corporate venture capital. So we have Kenya being largely driven by institutional investors. So these are, of course, your VCs that are bringing money from the global north, which is fine. But we would want to be able to catalyze local corporates, VCs, to play a bigger role in terms of supporting the ecosystem. The reason this is a win-win for them is because even for them, they would want to innovate, but maybe they don't have the resources in terms of brain power, and maybe because of corporate structure, of course, they might not be able to develop such amount. So collaborating with the startup ecosystem would allow them to give challenges to startups, and then startups can be able to use different technologies, whether it's blockchain, AI, etc., to innovate to support corporates. What that means is it becomes a test bed for corporates to be able to innovate either for their products or just to invest in startups as a way to be able to diversify their risk portfolio. So the incubation center concept is what we are currently spearheading as a county government to ensure that we are able to have these incubation centers across all 85 administrative centers that are in Kenya. So what we are calling wards. So Nairobi has 17 sub-counties and 85 wards. We want to be able to ensure that this infrastructure is decentralized to the lowest possible point, and ensure that we get a corporate to adopt a particular hub, so that we can be able to create sustainability, so that we are not just waiting for institutional investors to say we want to invest in AI or we want to invest in this, then we wait for the money to come. So if we're able to tap onto local corporates and the funding that is already there, we can be able to sustainably have a lot of investment going towards or getting practical use cases of the different technologies that are there. So it's one thing to talk about AI, is another to be able to apply that technology to solve a real issue that is your average corporate or your average Kenyan. So this is the model that we're adopting in terms of being able to get the three parties together. So the startup, of course, can be able to get funding, they can be able to get space, they can be able to get technical assistance. We can have our private incubators who are also struggling in terms of sustainability for them to be able to get a revenue stream. So in Kenya, and mostly, largely in Africa, and I think I was talking to representatives from AfriLabs in the morning, and the same challenge I posed to them is that in Kenya and in Africa, we don't have hubs that are specialized. So if we talk about AI, you find that it's almost a general term that is, everyone is talking about it, but we don't have dedicated spaces where we sit down and just explore how we can be able to really get solutions around AI and funding around the same. So again, just ensuring that hubs are able to run these spaces, and of course, it's able to give them sustainability. Corporates can be able to get the value in terms of the talent, a talent pool to innovate for their products, or just a pipeline in terms of investment. So again, and as Nairobi County as well as different governments can be able to learn based on the successes of other jurisdictions, and maybe just to point a few, just lessons from Germany in terms of AI-powered digitalization of service delivery, strong data infrastructure. So just looking at Germany, they have been able to succeed based on a robust data infrastructure. Again, we can talk about AI, but if you don't get quality data, which I think is feedback that we've received as well from startups, especially around sectors such as health. So if you want to innovate within health, you need data from health facilities, you need data from patients. How can we be able to provide that anonymized data without compromising the Data Protection Act to ensure that we're able to avail quality data that would allow you to innovate? So that's something that, as a county government, we are trying to explore how we can be able to do that, especially on sectors that we've already received feedback that they need very anonymized and clean big data that they can be able to use to, train their AI models. So that's something that we are looking out for to see how we can be able to explore that. Of course, looking at Germany, there's a strong public-private partnership where there's a lot of collaboration between government, private sector, and as well as research institutions. So again, the issue around research institution, which is basically academia, is also an area that is not explored. So there's a lot of IP that is sitting within our academic institutions, and especially around life sciences. So there is research that a business plan around opening a financial-based product, but how do you apply AI to agriculture? How do you apply AI in health? You need data and you need well-researched papers that, of course, is sitting within the academic institutions. So we've not been able to explore that. And of course, this goes towards deep tech and conversations around life sciences. So that's an area that we need to explore. Second case study is around India in terms of AI e-governance. So again, India has been successful at that in terms of automating government processes, through using AI. So in Kenya, of course, we have challenges around digitization of land records. We still, of course, we know we can be able to apply blockchain around some of these issues. Again, we are still, having teething issues. Again, for those of you who are coming from Kenya, land is a very emotive issue. So trying to digitize land, the guys will come God's blessing because, of course, we're going to a lot of interest around there. But again, good lessons that we can learn from India. Digital skills training is also an area that we need to be able to focus on. yes, to ensure that we're able to create a pipeline of talent that is able to build the different technologies that we need to apply to us. So one of the things that we're exploring as a county government is we've set out the agenda of trying to be a smart city, but without outsourcing the solutions from big tech. So we want to get local solutions from our local entrepreneurs. So we need to be able to build capacity very quickly to ensure that these solutions are built locally. So what are we doing as a county government? We've partnered with Moringa School. We partnered with Adenian Labs, again, different ecosystem players for them to be able to help build capacity, not only at the startups that are there, but start from scratch in terms of having a continuous pipeline of talent pool that can be able to deliver can be able to deliver quality products so that they can be able to compete with the oracles of this world. They can be able to compete with the AWSs of this world. So the other lesson is around Singapore, again, data privacy and governance. And of course, Kenya has a data privacy act that is currently in place. Again, whenever we talk about AI and data, then again the issue around data and privacy becomes a major thorn in the flesh. So again, looking at the innovation ecosystem from a Singapore perspective, Singapore has deliberately focused on AI as an area that they would want to be known for. So I think again, as a county government, what we are trying to do also is to be able to see the possibility of developing an AI center of excellence, so that we just have a center or a program that is focused on AI and see how we can be able to partner with different institutions to see how we can be able to get localized solutions that are based on AI. So again, there are different lessons that we can be able to learn. Let me not bore you too much, but based on the different use cases as a county government, again, being market, we are very much willing to get feedback, to have conversations. I think even yesterday, for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, we launched a draft code of conduct for startups before they're able to join, before they're able to join, say, for example, an accelerator program, whether it's an AI-based accelerator program, etc. Again, we've received tons of feedback from that particular document. And of course, that's the approach that we are taking to take across the different spectrum of the innovation ecosystem. So that's basically what Nairobi is doing. Of course, again, specifically around research, is again we are partnering with different institutions to be able to bring new research that you can practically apply to our different programs. We hope that ultimately Nairobi or Kenya can be an AI powerhouse, and we can have more AI-based or blockchain-based innovation, programs that are coming through from Nairobi. So, without further much ado, I would beg to stop there. Then we can able to maybe have a couple of questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victor. There's a lot of things that you people are doing in the background that I believe most of us don't know, especially some of us who are in Nairobi. We may not know some of these things, but you people are doing a lot in the digitization of some of the services that we are doing, that we have or that we are enjoying. And I believe that the plan is solid with between the public and private partnerships. And even at Intelliverse, one of the things that we are key on when you are doing research is public-private partnership, because again, whichever solution that you build as a private company is going to serve people, and the people are part of our government. And so you have to either way have a way of getting to know people in government, also getting to know the policies. I think today in the morning we are talking about research, we are talking about ethics and governance when it comes to AI as well. So I'll just open the floor to Ngaruya. I know, just a minute here. I know we have Ngaruya. I know we have Coach Emmanuel, and we have David Saruni. We have, if you have any question you may have for Victor before he leaves us, I know he has a very limited time. You could go ahead and ask that. And then I think the last keynote we are going to have for this session before closing remarks is going to be from Tokomia. So, and it's still, again, collaboration between public and private partnerships as well. Coach, David or Ngaria, do you have any questions for Victor?
Well, yes. First, well, I'm Eliud, and Victor, thank you for that presentation. Actually, that is one of the most comprehensive presentation I think I've been to on what government is doing. I had some questions, but you answered them before I could even ask them, because you touched on what you're doing on all those points that I wanted to ask. So, well, apart from focusing mostly on service, I think it is weighing heavily on service rather than products. So my question is, if I have a solution, say a company has a solution to the, say, traffic problem or something like that, a solution that requires not just a service that I can just log into a website and make my payments or book some service. Solution that requires a hardware, like a camera to be placed somewhere. If you do a U-turn, you get your phone right there at your, on your phone when you just do that U-turn. Some solutions require hardware to be placed in different places, like for security and say for traffic. Who do we go to? Who am I supposed to go to, for this for this private public partnership?
Do I take that one?
Yeah, sure.
Please do. I think you can help shed some insight into Gary's question, Victor, if you don't mind.
Okay. So, of course, we realize that we are only 11 months into office, specifically myself. So what we are doing is we have a website called innovatenairobi.go.ke. So the way currently we don't, the county government doesn't have a structured way in which it can be able to get solutions from startups. Because of course, the current structure is that if the government wants a service, it has to do a public tender, which is of course governed by the Constitution as well as the PFM Act, the Public Finance Management Act, which says you have to do a normal tender. So what happens is any solution that the county needs, chances are the big multinationals who have the muscles are going to win. So what are we doing as a county? So we currently want to, or are in the process of doing a self-registration for all startups in Nairobi, so that we can be able to get startups or innovations around health, around agriculture, around education, etc., and now have constructive engagement with the different solution providers who are innovators. And the way we want to look at it is we want to be able to look at it from either a collaboration perspective, in a manner that does not violate the PFM Act. So we can't, and of course we can imagine how difficult it is to be able to, and I get this a lot. I get people coming to City Hall and they're like, I have this solution I want to give to the county. The problem is if three of you are having the same solution around traffic, then who do I give and who do I say, stay in the background? So of course we need to be able to organize ourselves. And to some degree, you'd find that if it's a traffic solution, and because we have a database, then it means we can be able to ask you to either do a collaboration of sorts, so that you come as a network and say, we partnered 3 startups who are doing a solution around traffic. Then based on that, then I can be able to bring you to the county in terms of a collaborative framework to ensure that your solution is adopted by the county. The other option is linking you with a bigger corporate, and I think during the Nairobi Innovation, the Innovate Nairobi Tech Week, one of that is something that was posed. And the other solution to that would be if, say, for example, you are to partner with Liquid Telecom, who is a big corporate who can be able to give you a guarantee so that they bid for the work, but the solution is delivered by you. So we are exploring different models to see how we can be able to bring innovators to supply the county. The last option that we're exploring is in form of hackathons, where, let's say, for example, we do monthly hackathons based on certain challenges that the county is facing in different sectors. Then we let you pitch to the different managers in the county. Then the person who wins the pitch is able to get a grant or get a contract to be able to implement such a solution. So again, of course, it's early days, but those are the options that we are looking out for. For now, if you want to reach out, you can reach out to me. I think I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Twitter. You can just go to the county website. You can reach out to. You send me an email. Again, we can be able to have conversations.
All right, thank you. Hopefully, all the cans will be wheels. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Karuya, for that. So I believe next we have Kavia was talking about artificial ubiquity AI. So we'll give him 5 minutes for that, and then Doko will have his keynote speech.
Yeah, hi guys. Can everybody hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic.
Yes,
I'm not going to go through the deck. I might lose you again. I must apologize. It feels like my laptop is about to fatally crash. So let's just do this quickly. I mean, I'm glad I'm following Victor because I don't really want to do a startup pitch. I think I'd rather share our challenges and our opportunities and our experience as a South African fintech startup that is now domiciled in the US, and we're moving our R&D to France. The reason we domiciled in the US is because in Africa, it is practically impossible and unfeasible to develop first-in-world technologies under African regulatory regimes and best that IP in Africa, which